Universal Music Group is the undisputed heavyweight of the global music industry. It controls the catalogs of the world's biggest artists and dictates the market. Bill Ackman has put a $64 billion takeover proposal on the table. His plan is to pull UMG's listing out of Amsterdam and drop it directly onto the New York Stock Exchange. If he succeeds, he effectively turns his firm, Pershing Square, into a diversified holding company built in the mold of Berkshire Hathaway. But standing in the way of that plan is a 74-year-old French billionaire named Vincent Bolloré. This diagram illustrates the mathematical roadblock facing Ackman. A merger of this scale requires a 2/3 majority to pass. Bolloré controls nearly 32% of UMG, granting him a strict unilateral veto. Wall Street's most aggressive dealmaker is completely stalled, waiting on the approval of Europe's quietest corporate tactician. Ackman is pitching a spark-merger, a specialized corporate structure designed to juice UMG's value by targeting 15 to 19% annual growth in earnings per share. This bar chart establishes Pershing Square's historical benchmark. When Ackman held Hilton Worldwide, he oversaw an earnings expansion from 18 times to 33 times. He's projecting a similar trajectory for UMG. He's also built a custom off-ramp specifically for the Bolloré Group. The deal generates about 2.7 billion euros in incremental cash for the family, while still allowing them to hold on to their underlying equity in the company. There is another option on the table, a massive 7.5 billion euro all-cash buyout. It offers immediate liquidity, but it prices UMG shares at a discounted 22 euros each. Ackman is betting that the sheer scale of this liquidity event will satisfy market anxieties and force the Bolloré camp to sign off on the transaction. The complication is that the Bolloré family wealth has surged from $5.2 billion to $9.8 billion since 2017. A target with that kind of capital trajectory rarely responds to standard market pressure. We can see how he maintains influence by looking at this diagram of a cascading holding structure, starting with the Bolloré family at the very top. The family holds 93% of Compagnie de l'Audacious. That entity, in turn, owns 71.6% of Bolloré SE. From there, Bolloré SE directs Vivendi, which holds the critical stake in Universal Music Group. He relies on a tactic known as creeping control. He identifies undervalued assets, quietly accumulates influence, and then extracts value over long time horizons. This corporate architecture was built over decades to compound dynastic wealth within a closed system. It was never designed for a quick cash out. When Ackman first called the founder's son, Cyril Bolloré, the response was polite. Cyril said the pitch sounded like music to his ears, an encouraging response, but carefully non-committal. Analysts at JPMorgan argue that Universal's board will struggle to recommend the Pershing bid, noting that the current terms materially undervalue the music group. Observers familiar with his deal-making record point out that Bolloré rarely accepts an opening bid without pulling significant strategic concessions across the table. There was also an operational question. UMG's current CEO, Lucian Grange, has operated with substantial autonomy. A shift to a New York-listed structure threatens that independence. The standoff we are seeing right now is a test of whether the Bolloré family will surrender operational freedom in exchange for Wall Street liquidity. At a macro level, this negotiation highlights two opposing approaches to defining value. Ackman pursues value through immediate liquidity and aggressive public corporate transformation. Bolloré extracts value through the quiet compounding of dynastic capital, locked safely inside a highly controlled system over decades. A $64 billion takeover attempt proves that even the loudest public ambitions are ultimately constrained by structural ownership. Despite all the financial engineering built into Pershing Square's pitch, the entire market is paralyzed until one man in Paris makes his next move.